Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today it's exciting for me because we talk about the dev recap, diary recap part 2. As I said last time, I really enjoyed this one, so let's start.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am here with the writing team. How's it going? Ian, Aaron, Sarah?
Busy, really busy in the word mines, just writing and writing and writing.
I can imagine. We are here to answer some common questions and go over Sarah's dev diary and talk about all the cool stuff about fire and the narrative things that we can reveal so far. So, why don't we start with that? Hi, Sarah. Would you
Hi.
like to talk about the theme of control and how fire fits into the Seattle court in our story?
Sure. So as we know from Bloodlines 1, like control in general is like a very big thing in this world. You've got lots of different people trying to use you, and that's very much the same for Bloodlines 2 and for our protagonist. So obviously she is physically compromised. She's been branded and trapped within Seattle for reasons that you will soon find out. And other people, because of her elder status, see her as this powerful weapon, this tool. And so they're all kind of vying for control of her, but also no one really wants to make her believe that, she can be her own person, I guess. If she's powerful enough to go and do her own thing, then they can't control her. So everyone's trying to kind of put her in a place and get her to serve them through manipulative means. So yeah, whilst she is an elder and she is powerful, she is suppressed. She has no allies, no resources, none of the things that an elder would typically have to lend them a portion of their at least social power. So she is still quite reliant on the people around her, and she's very much trying to get control back and get that agency back.
I think possibly
I already think about, what happens if you play the person inside the sarcophagus? Because in Bloodlines 1 it was a power play around the sarcophagus, and now it seems like in Seattle there is a power play around fire that people say, oh, we have a new elder in town. And Victoria, as mentioned in one video, has to do something with the ritual. And yeah, that's that's still a very intriguing take.
the kind of flip side to it is because she is an elder, she is powerful. And as Sarah said, she is has a lot of potential as a weapon or a tool. So nobody wants to take her on directly. They all kind of have to politically work their way around her and evaluate her and figure out what she wants and what she's trying to do and manipulate her into where she becomes useful for them or allied to them. So it's not as if you're an ingenue coming into a space and people are just going, oh, okay, you've got to prove yourself at the court, you've got to do this, that, and the other. This is a powerful, powerful playing piece, if you like, that's been dropped into this situation.
I'm already very intrigued here. In Bloodlands 1, you played this nameless neonate, and um, some vampires were actually friendly towards you, but yeah, a neonate has no power and isn't taken seriously for reason, and you need to work your way up through up the ladder until people recognize you, or the prince says you are my most valuable asset now. And now it's different. I really looking forward to see how this feels. Yeah, because if they present it now like this and it still feels like in Bloodlines 1, it would be off. So I'm kind of intrigued how scared people are of you, how curious they are about you, and how it's how everything responds around you. So I would imagine this, and I'm hosting a vampire group, and if all of a sudden word would be around in the city that hello and Elder is here, out of nowhere, awakened after a slumber, and nobody knows what's their take, what's their goals, what's their powers, what can they do, what won't they do. Yeah, it would shake up the city, absolutely. So, and that's why this take is so interesting on Bloodlines 2. It's not just you play somebody, you play somebody. Yeah, it's really interesting. And since vampires are very paranoid and scared to die, and like to have everything in control, so that nothing happens without knowing, this is earth-shaking. That tada, an elder appears in domains, and nobody knows how to deal with them. It's that's cool.
And that has loads of knock-on effects for how people treat her and where she can fit in the map of Seattle.
The playing piece idea is a really good one too, because the part of the fact of fire being a recent arrival as well and an unknown quantity means she could be a pawn, she could also be a rook, she could be a knight, she could be a queen, and nobody really knows what that is, and the player kind of gets to decide a little bit about how much they share of that.
I guess that kind of leads us into the way that you can role play as fire. And one of the community members did have a question about this from the Dark Urge. How do we balance role playing and making the character their own? And there's a whole system for this, right?
Yeah, so in terms of role playing, so obviously you can choose your clan. It's about your disciplines, but also, yeah, your people's attitudes towards you. I know we've announced Tremere and Bruja, so that's going to have a very different reaction. Like Bruja and Ventru Prince, not so good. But then also, if you're Tremere, you're kind of a usurper, so some clans might react to you better than others. So yeah,
absolutely.
Depending on whether they know your clan and obviously whether they give a shit. So yeah, that does have options. There are options that are sometimes, there are choice options sometimes that are clan specific to give you more opportunities to role play harder into your clan. Obviously, you don't have to. You can decide, no, I'm a Tremere who would do this, or I'm a really calm brew.
Sorry for the heartbreak, but this is so important for me because still to this point, people running around in the community and on YouTube and Reddit and somewhere, just saying everything is an unfinished action game we will get, and I don't understand why these people don't listen to the developers. Yeah, they always expect things and imagine things what the developers think, do, say. And now we have a space where they actually talk and give us insights, and this sounds so good. It sounds like so much replayability. It sounds like if I play Bruja, then in the game people will respond differently. Tremere, Ban Joaquin Ventro, we know it now. It will have an impact. And from another video, which I watched today, I heard that you can act against your clan. So you have the replayability in terms of people reacting if you play as intended, and you can twist things around. You can maybe play the punk Ventru or the talking Bruja. So even if they say they focus on an action RPG and not an immersive sim, I mean it's blurry, yeah. So if there are people who call Human Revolution an immersive sim, it's listed as an action RPG. You can debate it, yeah. It's debatable where you draw the line, and here we already get official talk from the devs about clan replayability and the feeling of the clan and how the world around you responds.
As if, and then also, if people know, then it might factor into the reason why they do something or into their perception of you. They might tell you their first impression of you, and it might be quite different depending on your clan. They might also compare your actions to the reputation of your clan. So if you do something which is, very very calm and level-headed, and you're a Bruja, then
That's
they
really
might be
good.
like, you are rare. And then on top of that, we're allowing you to kind of basically choose Fire's backstory and who she is now. So Fire's always meant to be this very quicksilver character, very adaptable, but her whole thing has really been, we wanted to answer the question of how does a kindred that old come to be that old? Like, what keeps you alive when actually, being a kindred in this world is actually very, very dangerous, even if you're as sort of strong as Fire. So what are the things that would keep you alive? And for Fire, it's been adaptation and changing, and that kind of allows a lot of leeway for players to really pick what the kind of Fire they've been. In past lives, like obviously within the same lifetime, but you know what I mean. And also now, so they can choose things not just about which clan they were, but also what are the things you did, what's your story leading up to this point, but also who are you now, like how do you want to navigate this social scene, like how do you want to come across to people? Are you someone who uses the fact that you're an elder to your advantage to kind of push other people down, or do you kind of play the snaky game of trying to butter everyone up and feed the narcissist, or do you kind of say, I'm not going to play your games, flip the table, I know exactly what you're doing and I'm going to spell everything out, I refuse to, subsex is for cowards.
I love it. I absolutely love this take. That you are able to create your background, starting with the clans, and then what you did in the past life, and then you create your narrative now, which in my head already creates so much replayability with the stuff I said earlier. It sounds really good, yeah. Sounds promising, at least. That you have so many options and play and ideas behind your character. It's already really, really nice, and I wonder how it feels that we don't know how old Fire is, but we know that she was in torpor, slumbering around 100 years. So she knows. So if she fell into torpor in 1924 around, then she knows cars, planes, machine gun, automatic guns, tanks, factories, movies, telephones, stuff like this. So the bare bones. So the voice in the Fabian don't have to tell her this is a car. So he can say, yeah, this is a modern car, or they recognize it. So they doesn't know mobiles, satellites, rockets, spaceships, and I'm curious how that will play out, this transition. And I really want to know how old this character is actually, because if she was sleeping 100 years, doesn't tell us how old she is. As an elder, she can be 400 years plus, I think. Something like this. You can tell a lot there. If you want to cover 300, 400, 500 years for a character, you can cover a lot of narrative there.
I think there's also a trade-off here between the legend of Fire, if you like, who she was, who they were in past times, because she comes with baggage. But that is something, as Sarah said, that there is a story about what Fire was, and we let the player make choices about that story as the game plays out. And then there is now, right? There is what people have heard of her and what they think she is. And then there is how she behaves in her actions now, and whether the two are the same or whether they vary. It's very much up to the choices that you take when you're interacting with all the people in the world.
And keep in mind, there's also the aspect of being a hunter in this modern society. And so how you approach other non-conversation encounters as well can help build the narrative of who you are as a character and who Fire is. How does she comport herself in this world?
And then there are the normal
Nice.
things you would expect in the outside the writing, in terms of the progression and how you, what skills you choose for the character, how that develops. And as Sarah said, the choice of clan also affects loads of things, not only from what powers you have, but from how people treat you in the world. As if they believe that Fire is a particular clan, and they're of a particular clan, they'll treat you in a different way than if the clans are. I'm trying not to give away what the clans are, which is why I'm kind of talking in small circles there.
I can't remember whether this will be released before or after we've told everyone everything. So yeah, we'll
add to that as well. So it's not just about, you choosing these things and it's like cool story bro sort of thing. It's the game will respond to that as well. So depending on how you treat people like to be treated in different ways. And so part of this is very much about reading the person and deciding, is this someone who, if I butter them up, will that help me get my way? Versus, is this someone who likes to be met head on? Is this someone who likes to, have things acknowledged that, okay, yeah, we both see things the same way? And like, what's the best way when reading this person to approach the situation? And people, if you approach it not the wrong way, but in a way they don't like, you might get a different response. And that might be what you want, because you can be either trying to play the game socially, or you might be thinking, no, this is my fire. Like, oh god, my fire. Sorry, I couldn't resist. So you might decide that you just want to role play Fire to be someone who is more dominant, like most of the time, or more maybe a bit of a sycophant, or maybe that what could be conceived as being a sycophant is actually genuine humanity. That's completely up to you, but that will be reflected. So it's true both in the ways that people respond to you, but also.
This looks like Batman brooding over the city. I love it. Yeah, and everybody else also said too. It really feels like a strong RPG take. That I mean, yeah, a lot of people. I know I repeat myself, but lots of people complain and bitch around that the lack of character creation menu is destroying the RPG experience, and no. RPG is about more. I mean, of course it's always cool if we create everything from scratch, like in a pen and paper, but it's a video game, and if I get a rough version of a character, and I am still in charge to form it, yeah. Like I tell the backstory, I tell the now story, I am reacting, I have an idea of a character in my head, and that's how I react and roleplay. So take Stalker, for example. It's not a role-playing game, not at all, but it's so immersive that after, I don't know, after the fourth or fifth playthrough, I started to build characters in my head and started role-playing with them, which guns they use, how I respond to people. So that's what I like. And then if the game creates an immersive surrounding and gives you the opportunities, you automatically start to imagine your own story. And if the writers on an RPG manage to handle you that, and you just take it and use it, yeah, then fuck a character creation menu. I mean, why is my character so different if the hair is pink, blue, or normal, blonde, brown, I don't know, or if I have 3 piercings or one 2 tattoos or no tattoo, a long beard, a small beard, it's just optics. Yeah. Nothing special on the narrative there. And I like, of course, a little bit character creation, but as I said earlier in another video, give me the character creation stuff like in Tyranny or Pillars of Eternity, and then I'm golden. Or Wasteland 2 or 3 had nice character creations too. And I don't know one single Bethesda game I really like, and they have these overarching character creations. So yeah, you have your sandbox there, play with it. But if the devs deliver here what they are saying, then we get a real RPG experience. And I really wish for that. That doesn't mean I'm overhyping here. Yeah? I don't know. In the end, it could be still disappointing, but from what I see or hear, my opinion now is, the time I make this video, that I don't expect a bad game. I expect a decent / fun game I can enjoy. If it will be my next Bloodlines, which I play the next 20 years, I don't know. But I hope for it. And that's the thing. I have my opinion and my hopes. It's something else.
So in the ways that people react to you longer term and how they perceive you. So there's the, the immediate, this is, how dare you speak to me like that? Or, the longer term, like, you really come across as this kind of person to me. But also, generally, like, what's the general consensus about you? How do you fare, if certain characters have eyes everywhere? If they can see you speaking to people in different ways, how does that pan out?
Which something I talked about in the reveal actually is this is not like a game where you choose the kind of renegade paragon for the whole of. I mean, you can always play fire this particular way, as Sarah said, but really you are likely to be choosing very carefully how you react to certain people. As you know, Vampire is a game of politics, right? And so if you go and are cheeky to everybody, maybe that's not a good choice. So you get to pick and choose.
Exactly. And I think just to speak a little bit to the direction here. So when we were figuring out the approach to choices in this game, we were thinking, okay, how does a vampire navigate this kind of world? And again, it's, you can choose to do it as role play. It's like, this is who I am. But I think very few vampires are actually presenting themselves as who they actually are and, how they actually feel. It's all about manipulating and scheming. Nice. So this wasn't about like, I'm this kind of person, I'm that kind of person. It's about playing the game. And so we were thinking, okay, what kind of different approach?
I need a break here because my thoughts were going away a bit, and from what I heard, in my mind popped up the idea that, hey, it sounds like they are really making a game about Vampire the Masquerade. So that's the thing. What the devs are saying in this diary is, it's so, it feels really good. Yeah, it gives me the hopes that these people understand what not a vampire game is about, but what the Vampire the Masquerade game is about. Yeah.
Which is would both hopefully feel satisfying, but also would be something that a kindred would choose in these kind of situations. In a social situation, you might be trying to butter someone up, you might be trying to stomp someone into submission, you might be trying to play your cards, show your hand, or keep your hand closer to your chest, and it's all about strategy at the end of the game. At the end of the day, but also the game.
There's actually also
the endings, right?
Yes, it does affect the endings.
This also harkens back a little bit to even the TTRPG roots as well, where you have someone there being that character and being a fully, ideally, hopefully fully realized 3-dimensional character. We want to make sure that there's not a 2-dimensional response to that character. If you want something from them, what do you need to do to get that something? and what paths do you choose to get there?
One thing I always think about is when I read the Anne Rice novels, and I got to Vampire Lestat, which is the second one, and suddenly it was sort of delving into the history of Lestat and what it means to be someone who is that old. And the novel starts with him waking up after a long, long time in the 21st century, and he's comparing rock music to harpsichords. And it's just this beautiful chapter of like all these comparisons and stepping into the head of someone who has no knowledge of our world whatsoever. And so you kind of vicariously get to re-experience our world for the first time, which is so exciting and so interesting. And that is, for me, one of my favorite parts of dealing with an elder like Fire, because like they've seen so much and they've had this long gap of torpor, and everything is so new, and that's just really refreshing and exciting and interesting, and it makes just everything pop again for the first time. It makes everything fresh. So there's lots of cool history to explore as well. So
I need a little break here. I can't hold myself because I enjoy what they're saying there. It is beautiful because first Anne Rice stuff, Interview with the Vampire, is so damn important for Vampire the Masquerade. The aesthetics, the way how a vampire is created, the struggle with humanity, everything. It is all there, yeah? You can't have Vampire the Masquerade without Anne Rice. It is so good to hear that the developers know about that, and still have this in mind. And I have to say, I have the clown nose on. The joke is on me. That's the first time I heard about this idea that you play an elder awaking in our time. Not the first time. Every time, so for weeks, I talked in the community about it, and then I talked with my wife, with friends, and then all of a sudden, this video pops up, and Sarah Longthorn is talking about Lestat waking up in our world, and yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, of course. It's this take. It's not even a new idea. I mean, you don't need to have original ideas all the time. It's totally okay if you get inspired by something, and if you get inspired from Anne Rice and just start for Vampire the Masquerade game, yeah, this is just it's basics, yeah. It's made for each other. And if you look at Fire from this perspective, like a Lestat perspective, then I'm absolutely down to play this, and I'm so much quicker now in realizing what they're doing, what their take is, and how it feels. So if you read the novels, if you watch the movies, if there is a series out there, I still didn't finish, but I want to. Lestat is very, very, very important vampiric figure, and he's exactly that. Yeah, he is very experienced, very old, and was away a certain time, and then came to power again in the modern world, and quickly adapted and enjoyed it a lot. And I think you can have it too. I mean, maybe your Fire is an elder who rejects modernity and doesn't want to be a part of it and struggles with keeping up, or you are a Lestat, being a rock star. It's so nice. It's so fucking nice what I hear.
we're looking at the time period that Fire has been alive, unalive, all the different things that they might have experienced, again, depending largely on player choice. But we know certain things about Fire's history, primarily, for example, like where they started their own life, and that gives us a few anchor points. And I learned some really cool history about that particular part of history that it was just so fun to research and write about.
one thing that I liked about the Elder aspect is that we also don't have to explain a lot of things to Fire. Fire's been a kindred for a long time and knows a lot of things, and especially that survival aspect that you touched on earlier. She knows how to survive in this world. It's just she doesn't know the rules of this particular time.
Yes.
So that's a lot of, there's been some interesting subversions there that we've been able to do, and looking at, well, this is similar to this thing, but the difference is, oh, those details, those will trip you up.
Although the difficulty, of course, with all of that is that the player doesn't necessarily have the knowledge that Fire has, and doesn't necessarily have that experience. So because this...
or you're a player from World of Darkness games for over 20 years and you know maybe more than Fire. But maybe Fire is teaching me something new, because in the last video one of the devs said that they are answering questions nobody else answered. So yeah, maybe we get in Bloodlines 2 some more answers for what the World of Darkness is in the 5th edition. And I'm learning something new from Fire.
Obviously, this title's got to appeal to people who know Vampire the Masquerade and people who don't. And so it's a delicate balancing act between things that Fire knows and the player doesn't. And we don't want to disconnect the player from Fire. And things that we need to get in for players to understand a new space that they've never seen either, or a new world that they've never seen. And this is where, again, going back to the character reveal, this is where we find the second character we've been talking about, Fabian, useful. And so you've got this interesting kind of connection between the two. And you've got the Fire, who really knows a lot about being a vampire because she's been a vampire for a long time. And you have Fabian, who knows a lot about the modern day, and so we can use the two to bounce off each other to get the player clued into what's going on, and the two of them together, hopefully, the two of them together should survive.
The community member Max Doom was asking, will the game cover the social aspects of being an elder, like older values, technologies, and getting to grips with that, as well as relationships with younger vampires?
Yeah, so I think the first thing to say is Fire is very adaptable. She's a quick study. So with things that she's learning for the first time, especially with Fabian's help, it's not a case that the entire game she doesn't know how to use an elevator, for instance. She's like, what is this magic? It's going to be a sort of quick moment of, oh, what is this thing? Wait, you mean there was a second World War? You know.
I'm not sure, but weren't elevators around in the 20s last century?
And then move on, we're not going to overdo it. You're kind of almost inhabiting the space between them in a way. You are Fire, but Fabian is an influence. So Fire has certain attitudes. One of the things that actually I forgot to mention earlier, one of the interesting things about an elder is the sort of ennui of time and the way that you get kind of cold and detached. And so the player is in a really interesting position where they can kind of choose how much influence he's having versus how much Fire is sticking to, no, this is the way I am. And that's very much available in the choices and will be reflected.
There can also be some interesting things too in Fabian challenging Fire on, well, why do you think that thing? This is the thing that you've established you think. Why do you think that? And then exploring that cynicism of the ennui that you mentioned. Because yeah, if everything gets boring after a while, that's how do you keep things from getting boring? Ugh.
How do you see humans as anything but cattle? But then, as Sarah said, it's kind of up to the player as to whether they respond to Fabian interrogating that, or whether you go, no, humans, they're cattle.
Yep.
I really like this take too, because imagine you are the Thin Blood Fabian, and I expect now you are sacrificed in this ritual, and then you realize that you are in the head of a centuries old elder, or powerful being you maybe couldn't even imagine to be. And you have the opportunities to bring yourself in, to ask questions, to engage, and that's really interesting. And since I'm still not sold on the idea of having a Simlat in my head, and at the same time I like the idea that they didn't drop the Simlat topic. Yeah, I know. I really hope that the talk with Fabian is enjoyable and believable, and really he really makes an impact to my gameplay and to the replayability of the game. So if I have all these things in mind, clan, background, how you are now, plus Fabian, if these things really are well written, then we get so many takes in every round we play this game. That would make a fantastic RPG. If. It's a big if. I don't say that's the case, I just say if. And that would make a really, really strong RPG.
There's also another question from the community about the tone of the game, which is from Kingdom Sower. Is this game...
Shout out to Kingdom Sower. I like you a lot. Every time a good time with you.
going to be overly serious, kind of campy, or how are you building the levity into it? Because obviously horror, tension, levity, you can't have one all the time. So yeah, how are you?
But Kingdom Soul, I disagree here. I know where it comes from, that if you are dealing with dark, gritty, mature, campy horror stuff all the time, it can be much, can be troublesome, you need a relief. I like these experiences a lot, and go deeper down the dark horror rabbit hole, but I understand it. Yeah, I understand that at some point you need a relief, and in the world of darkness there is some dark humor too, so of course we will get it. Yeah.
You writing that together?
I think it's worth saying that, like any, I'd hope, well-told story, we have a little bit of everything. Different characters are drawn in different ways. If there's comedy in it, it's not because somebody believes they're the comic relief. That's just the way they act.
Yeah.
Right? People are people, and there's a wide variety of them. And the background of Vampire the Masquerade lets us be slightly larger than life, rather than deeply realistic, because that's the franchise, right? It's got that edge to it. It's got that slight liveliness to it, which actually I think dovetails nicely with our concept about how vampires perceive the world. They're looking at islands of life and islands of darkness, and that is a wider range than happens to us in our boring day-to-day lives. So hopefully you'll see bits of humor, bits of joy, bits of despair, all slightly more exaggerated than we have in reality.
That's really good. That's the same take I have on my role-playing games, and my brother too, which is my my conversation partner for decades now of role-playing games. It's absolutely normal and okay to create larger-than-life characters and situations, because you don't play role-playing game to play your normal life, to play the chore you have. You want to escape that, you want to experience something, you want to live a movie, a series, a tale, a book, a story that needs some larger-than-life characters and exaggeration of story, and things then can naturally be humoristic or relief. And that's again really good to hear. Again, it feels like these guys are actually know what they're doing.
I think it's worth saying as well that it depends who you talk to. You know, like in Bloodlines 1, talking to Officer Chunk is a very different experience than talking to, LaCroix. So yeah, it's
Bring Chunk back.
one of those things where, yeah, it's about the person, and also, yeah, different kinds of humor as well. So a character like, say, Tolly, who we've seen in the earlier reveal, he might be a lot more overtly witty, whereas for a character like Fire, a lot of the humor comes from the fact that she doesn't know what some things are, or, you know, the contrast between someone like her and another character who is so opposite produces opportunities for humor. And, you know, that's partly why Fabian's there as well. He is an opportunity to for the player character to have their own moments of humor. Even for, you know, someone like Fire is generally like, she can be more serious, but that produces a humor of its own. And yeah, we get it from the surrounding cast in their different flavors.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. I like to think of having realistic responses to unrealistic situations.
Yeah.
These are still monsters by definition. Right there in the original rule book, you're playing a monster. These are not nice people. Maybe you want to do a nice thing, but at the end of the day, you got to bite that person. And suck out their vitae. Good times.
This is making me so happy, because this is there lies a deep understanding of everything. So you have this unrealistic situation. I mean, so far as we know, we don't have vampires in our actual world, and you play a role-playing game, a fantastic role-playing game about personal horror and everything, and you have this unrealistic situations, but you have in the surrounding realistic responses, and this creates a believable world. The believable world is necessary for deep immersion, and that's why my heart is now somewhere beating here. This is so cool, because I'm rambling around for years about the need of immersion in games, and that rarely a game really manages to do it. And then they reference the rule book that you're playing a monster and that you are not nice. And there are still people out there who say that you need the Sabbat or something like this to be a really bad vampire, but that's not the case. And that's why I like the 5th edition so much, because the 5th edition manages from the start to tell you the story that basically every vampire out there is a bad character, because deep inside you, you are a fucking monster. You need blood to survive. You need it. There is no way around. You need to bite at the start animals, maybe, if you want to avoid it, like Louis in Interview with a Vampire. But at some point you need to feed from humans, and at some point you need to feed from vampires, because the blood grows stronger and demands more. You can't avoid this, the cycle. You are a predator, you are an apex predator, and you are very, very dangerous. And if you are not careful and don't treat carefully, then you lose your humanity easily. And that's the thing. Of course, your character can be still good. You can clinch to your human nature, your past days. But imagine now you would be turned into a vampire, and look at you back 70, 100 years later. You definitely wouldn't be the same person anymore, and you would get used to biting people, drinking blood, killing maybe. It's tough to maintain a humanity. You are a monster, and the game should represent it.
All right, well, thank you for your time, everyone. Can't wait to take a look at more community questions later down the line and see what more reveals we have for people later. Goodbye, everyone.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you.
I like the music. The tiny bits of sound design. Yeah, that was my thoughts about it. I talked already a lot, and What I liked about this diary especially was that all of the 4 persons seemed to be so passionate about the project, have deep knowledge about Vampire the Masquerade, really like to work on it, and said so many really good things for an immersive role-playing experience. And I think so far this is the most important video they put out, and the haters out there, they're not referencing it, they're just looking at their 15 seconds they can shit on. But this here is, yeah, that's a strong one. Which gives me hope, and please guys, don't mess it up. You have me on the hook. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope I will see you next time. Bye bye.